right. I was going to say they're not listening yet. The Lewis County Finance and Rules Committee meeting, I'm calling to order. Cassandra, could you do the roll call?
Yes. Legislator Mosier,
Here.
Legislator Nellenbach,
Here.
Legislator Frost,
Here.
Legislator Osborne,
Here.
Legislator Leindecker,
Here.
Legislator Dahlhoff. Okay.
I was not at the last committee meeting, so can I have a motion to approve the committee meeting minutes from February?
I'll move those.
Herb, do I have a second? Barry, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, the first presentation today on today's agenda will be the health insurance update. I would like to invite Gilroy, Kiernan, and Gilroy Consultants forward to give a presentation.
Good afternoon. I'll give you a quick introduction. Many of you probably have met Susie Phillips before. So Susie and Robert Broccoli are here from GKG. We are in that time of the year for the health plan where GKG is helping us look at the annual budget for next year and try to determine what the necessary increase will be in our premium equivalents. They use another consultant, Milliman, an actuarial firm, to look at the data. So Susie's going to walk you through that and show us where we will be headed for this coming year.
Thank you, Rick. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me. As Eric said, my name is Susie Phillips, and I work for Gilroy, Kernan, and Gilroy. Tim and team have asked me to come share some information with you regarding this year's health plan renewal for June 1, 2026. So before I do that, just wanted to give a quick update. Who's controlling the slides? Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, wanted to give you an update on where the health plan currently sits, or I should say as of the end of February 2026. So I'll call your attention to the middle column there. So 9 months through the plan year, we are sitting at a 100% loss ratio. So premium equivalents coming in are nearly equal to claims and expenses going out. So through the end of February, we have a deficit or shortfall of almost $13,000. So that's pretty close to break even. So small that it's registering at 100% loss ratio. So we've got 3 months left to go. And in that 3-month period, we will have an RX rebate come through. So yeah, in fairly good shape at this point in time. Okay, wanted to share a set of changes that are being implemented for the 26-27 plan year. The first of which is a PBM, which stands for Pharmacy Benefit Manager, RFP that was completed recently. As a result, the county is going to be changing PBMs from its current relationship with ESI, which is the pharmacy partner of Excelis, moving to ProAct. And ProAct is part of Kinney Drugs. So you're all very familiar with Kinney here in the North Country. And that change will become effective June 1st. The change is projected to save approximately $1.1 million over the next 2 years. In 7 months, the contract will run through December 2028. And the next bullet explains why that period of time is chosen. So the plan year currently resets on June 1st. The county is going to change that to January 1 to better align with the county's fiscal year and also the collective bargaining agreements so that when negotiations are in process, the changes will align with the plan year. The third is a new wellness program, which will be rolled out. and become effective January 1st, which is going to tie participation in some wellness activities to a financial incentive. All of those things are built into the Milliman budget projection, which I'm going to show you next. So we are looking at a 7-month policy period, which is being necessitated by the change to the January 1 reset. And then another budget projection will be built for January 1, 2027 through December 31. So what we're going to jump to next is for 7 months. So I'm not going to walk you through all of this detail. I'm going to go to a summary on the next slide, but just a couple of things I wanted to call out for you before we do that. So Milliman, as Eric said, is our actuarial partner. And a couple of things they're doing here, they are using just over 3.5 years worth of Lewis County's actual claims experience. So all of that historical data that is unique to the county is what's informing this projection. And then the trend is the other thing I wanted to highlight. So if you go down just under where that section 2 begins, you'll see the medical trend that's being used is 4.8%. And the pharmacy trend is 10.7%. So those are blended trends utilizing Lewis County's unique trend along with regional and national. Okay, so this is really where I wanted to focus. So Milliman provides us with an expected budget, right? And if you go back here, way down in the bottom corner there, you see 11.2%. So that is what is expected. An increase of 11.2% is needed to cover what is anticipated to come in claims and expenses. There is a 50% chance that claims and expenses will exceed that number and a 50% chance that it will come in under. Okay, so the expected is the middle of the road, and then they provide a spectrum. On one end is an aggressive budget. So if there was a sense or a reason to believe that the plan would perform significantly better than what's expected, the increase could be smaller. On the flip side of that coin is a conservative estimate, meaning we would anticipate the budget or the plan to perform worse than expected. You could add on to that. So our recommendation is to proceed with the expected number. Ultimately, that's a decision of the groups or of the counties. So I think I'm going to turn it back to Eric or Tim at this point to chat about what the county's actual recommendation is, and then I can
Susie,
answer
just
questions.
a quick
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
So you're forecasting 11% is the middle of the road this year. Do you remember what the spread was for last year?
What
'Cause
did
it
we levy?
Looks like we came in at 17% last year.
So 13.5 was levied. So the high was probably 22-ish.
So last year actually came in at 17%. So are we kidding ourselves with 11% or? I just ran the numbers here from 25, 26 to 24, 25, and it's 2 million over or 17%.
So Larry, what are you looking at? What is it that you're referring to?
The total increase, but we budgeted for that increase. So we're looking at percentage above the premium that we anticipate.
Okay. Well, this is what I'm looking at here. Last year was 11 million. This year was 13 million.
Yeah, total plan expenses.
And the actual increase was 17%. So I'm just, are we budgeting enough? Are we just kidding ourselves or where we at?
Here, let me go back to that. You're looking at this, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that bottom line number, you want to come up 2 lines from that if you're doing any sort of calculation.
No, I just divided the 11 million by the 13 million and it's a 17% increase.
Right. You got to come up 2 lines because the Broome County Purchasing Alliance fully insured premium is included in that bottom number. This recommendation is specific to the self-insured health plan. So you got to come up 2 lines, variance from premium equivalent. And this, we still have 3 months to go, so you really can't be working off of these numbers. Does that make sense?
Yep.
The
So are you saying, so if you start at the top, 3 lines down, total SF program costs, not reimbursements. So 25 to 26 was 11.581, 24 to 25 was 10.199.
yes.
Okay, so when I run these numbers like Larry's getting at, I'm getting at 13.5%.
Yeah, so
Okay.
but you still have 3 months left. So that's year to date through February current and year to date through February last plan year. So this is not how things ended, if you will. Does that make sense?
So the 11.581 is going to be substantially higher then, if that only is through 9 months.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
What
That's-
do you anticipate the rebates to be then?
They're usually between 250 and 300 a quarter, thousand, 250 to 300,000 a quarter. So that will help to offset any, if the next couple of months we perform worse than expected, that rebate will work to offset that. So you don't know what's going to happen these last 3 months.
Right, but if you figure that's only 9 months for 11.5, if we factor in 3 more months in the fiscal year, even with the rebate,
24, 25 column is only 9 months also.
okay, understand then.
I would say last year with a 13.5% increase, we're projecting at the end of the year, the fund is really going to break even. What the premiums coming in is exactly what we're paying out. We've made some substantial changes that we think are going to create savings. We did the RFP for the stop loss insurance, and that was about a $250,000 savings right there. We are doing this pharmaceutical change, and you saw the projected savings there. With those accounted for, that's the 11% is right in the middle of the road. And we took this to our larger employee group and vetted that number with them, and they felt comfortable with sticking with that kind of middle of the road number and not, going lower or higher.
Susie? And this is only for a 7-month window too, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's what I was just going to ask. Could you comment on looking at this again later this year?
Yes, yes. So as I mentioned here, so this is a budget for June 1 through December 31. So in the fall, we're going to go through this process again, and Milliman is going to provide another budget projection for the 2027 12-month new plan year. So we're most likely going to be talking about another increase effective January 1st.
I have a question.
Yes.
Eric, when you say we break even, is this, we set so much money aside to use for the healthcare fund, would that be used up by this time period? Or is that balance going to stay the same that we set aside? Because it was like 2 million, 4 million we set aside to keep in the healthcare fund balance. Is that still there, or is that going towards this?
No.
Yeah, you might have to clarify or explain what you're thinking about. We didn't really set anything aside. We have put some additional funding into the reserve.
Right. Is the reserve, I guess my question is the reserve the same, or are we, where we keep tapping it and we have to keep refilling it?
Right, and thank you, because I was going to update. So our reserve as of yesterday was about $3,050,000. It's been growing over the last couple of years, and some of that has come from the shared services program of the Broome County Alliance Plan, and some of it also came from the hospital made an injection into the plan a year ago or so. So we've had a couple of injections into the plan, which helped. It has been relatively steady for 6 to 8 months, as Susie's numbers show. We basically break even for this year in the plan activity. So this, as the fund balance has been growing, it's stabilized. That certainly is not decreased, again, as the plan data shows. Does that help?
It does to a certain extent. I guess what my question is, do we need to tap into it if we decide to go with anything other than 11% in order to balance it out? Or will that deplete the balance?
The simple answer is no. What the 11.5% does and what Milliman's data shows, that would be break even, 11.5%. If we went with the lower end of the spectrum, if we went to the lower end of the spectrum, 4%, that might put us at a risk of having less income than expense and depleting the fund balance. If we go to the higher end of the spectrum and everything stays normal, we could grow the fund balance. So if we stay at the 11, if we increase at the 11%, we theoretically should stay stable.
Without touching the fund balance.
Correct. So we did hand out a copy of our fund balance reserve policy, which we approved 6 or 8 months ago. And if that all kind of drives again off of that fund balance. Our goal right now for the fund balance is 3 million. And I think we have some criteria in there that say if we're below that 3 million, we would consider higher than the recommended increase. If we're above the 3 million, we could consider lower than the recommended increase. So we're right where we need to be at this point. So that is part of the recommendation to stay right at that middle.
Preserve that balance.
Yep. And a couple other comments I would note. I think Tim just mentioned our advisory committee has been, I think, working very effectively. The things that Susie mentioned earlier, the wellness program, the pharmacy benefit management change, they've been involved in those discussions for the last year. And as Tim mentioned also, they support this recommended increase.
I think I can add just another comment in regards to having the 7-month plan year in place. That really affords the county an opportunity to respond if there is an unexpected change in the plan performance, because you're not having to wait that 12-month period, right, for the next reset. So we would anticipate that happen. But if it did, there's an opportunity, right? Because we're going to reset this for 1/1.
I'd like to add, and we don't have any actuarial numbers looking out 19 months, but what we're anticipating at the end of this year is a smaller increase than this. We believe the 19-month back of the envelope math looks like around 19%. So if you split that in half, you're going to be roughly 11, maybe 9, 10. We're going to be looking at a similar size increase in December, January, is what we think.
Any other questions I can answer? Good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So for the next presentation, I would like to invite Caitlin Smith, Director of Human Resources, forward to give a presentation on Policy Committee update.
So everyone's getting a copy of the 2 policies that we worked on this last year, but our policy committee, we revitalized this committee Last year in 2025, we'd realized we hadn't updated between our personnel handbook, our administrative manual, numerous other policies that had been coming out. We wanted to put it all together, and some of them needed some revamping. So last year, we created revitalized the committee. It had occurred years ago, established some operating guidelines, had a set meeting schedule. We had a team that worked on 2 policies. Now, to go through these policies, we're like, oh, we're going to be able to review them. It's not going to be a problem. They were quite in-depth. As you'll see from the 2 that I gave you at the top, the last time the workplace violence one had been looked at officially was 2003, and the tuition reimbursement was 2007. So a lot of work had to be done on both of those. So the first one to go over is our workplace violence policy. This is 17 pages of just literary beauty. You can read and fall asleep, but it is required. It aligns with our New York State labor laws. We expanded it more from just a policy really to a program, really focusing not just on incidents after they occurred, but rather emphasizing identifying risks, preventing incidents, giving more, offering a broader scope of things, focusing on safety, prevention, accountability, and again, really working at being proactive versus reactive. We also defined roles across the organization between HR, buildings and grounds. Matt and I complete workplace risk assessments along with individuals in the building as safety representatives, and again, have formalized the prevention program. So that's all detailed in the various appendices in there. Again, some of those things you'll see is the annual risk assessments and the workplace inspections. We have to go to each and every building that the county has employees in. We have our incident reporting and tracking system. We have a lot more security and controls in place, looking at different access, cameras, panic buttons. We've got those in different, each building has something a little bit unique to them, and we look at what their public interface is and what their risks are. We've expanded our training, not only just on our annual workplace violence training prevention, but also offering de-escalation, active threats. We've actually partnered with the sheriff's department, and one of our deputies is going to be doing an active shooter training for us, doing that. We have field safety protocols, and again, integrating our employee assistance program. So those are the major changes around our workplace violence. I have those drafts for you to take the time to review, because these will, in order to adopt or in order to update these, we'll have to bring this forward as a resolution to adopt. Any questions on workplace violence? That one's pretty standard. It follows a lot of the state recommendations. The next is our tuition reimbursement policy. So we have had individuals reach out over the past few years. We've maybe had 1 or 2 individuals use it. It's not widely used policy, but our goal here with this was to improve our recruitment, retention, workforce development, and really look at our succession planning. So we made a lot of key changes here in our financial benefit, the service commitment, what you can do within your career, and the employment requirements thereafter. So the financial benefit we looked at, again, as I said, this was from 2007 to 2026. The cost of college has changed dramatically, and not just the cost of college classes, but we also expanded it to other programs and certificates. So we increased the annual max. We also increased the 5-year cap and the lifetime cap, allowing also for board-approved exceptions. The service commitment. So currently it's for every year, for every $1,000 you were given, you had to have 1 year of service thereafter. So right now the draft we have in front of you applies only over $1,000. We also have created a graduated repayment over 5 years should you leave the organization, and again, no repayment for anything under $1,000. That's when we're looking at those certificate programs, because again, we would have offered that if it was mutually beneficial for us as well. The current process, the current policy, it's limited to department advancement, and the draft really expands it to countywide opportunities. So really the impact on this is it's really a more competitive benefit we can offer employees. It encourages our own employee growth, improving retention. We still have fiscal safeguards in place, but more reasonable with the cost of continuing education as it stands. Really enhance our workforce and align with other modern benefit practices. So the impact from the team, or the recommendation from the team, was to adopt this updated policy, but if there was anyone that had thoughts or suggestions on it thereafter, we would appreciate any of that. Any initial questions on the key changes or impacts to tuition reimbursement? All right, so in 2026, right now, our priority, we're focusing on integrating these 3 policies. We have a fleet safety and driver compliance policy, a drug and alcohol testing policy, and we also partner with our BOCES program to administer our drug and alcohol testing to drivers holding a CDL. So we work with that Federal Motor Carrier Safety Act and following and being in compliance with that. So trying to loop all of those 3 things together as they kind of relate to one another, but also have their own caveats to it. So that's kind of what we're working on now. We've met twice already and reviewing those in comparison with other counties. We're pulling from resources with those, and hopefully we'll be bringing that to you by the end of the year would be a goal. We meet about once every 6 weeks. Questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. So moving on to the draft resolution and motions. Cassandra?
The first draft resolution is authorization to appropriate $275,000 from the 2026 fund balance to cover unanticipated increases in electric utility costs across county buildings. Funds will be allocated to multiple departmental electric account lines as identified by the Buildings and Grounds Director to ensure sufficient coverage for the remainder of the fiscal year. Any unused funds will be returned to the fund balance at year end.
I move that draft resolution number 1 be forwarded to the full board for action. Do I have a second? Barry, any discussion?
I'd like to make a proposal on that to break that up in thirds, just so we can continue this discussion on this. I just think it's worth keeping on our plate to discuss further, so we don't move it all at once. What does the committee think about that?
Herb, if I just did the math real quick because I can't do it in my head. $91,666 for 3 months. Is that, and then 3 months we would have to come back and
We'd
ask
have
for
to come
another-
back and discuss it again, and and maybe in the meantime, maybe we can advocate for some rate changes, or
Yeah, and certainly
with
we've
National
been doing
Grid
that,
or-
meeting with National Grid regularly, but I'm fine with any way we do that because we do want to kind of keep you and the public informed of what's happening. We're trying to trend this out, and there's big increases early, and we're trying to shoot for where this is going to end up. So that 3 months, 91,666 is what that comes out to. Call it 92,000 for ease. Every 3 months.
Okay.
Joan, we don't actually have a motion on the table, but do you want something amending it?
As long as the board is okay with that change, we'll make the final draft.
Is everyone okay? Yeah, I think it's fine too.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Draft resolution number 2, fixing the date of a public hearing on introductory local law number 4-2026, a local law continuing an additional mortgage tax for mortgages on real property situated in Lewis County. The public hearing is scheduled for May 5th, 2026 at 5:00 p.m. in the Lewis County Board of Legislators chambers at the courthouse in Lovell, New York.
Move that draft resolution number 2 be forwarded to the full board for action. Do I have a second? Herb, any discussion? Then I will just point out that this is keeping the mortgage tax right where it is right now. It's not an increase over what we already had. Probably no one but the lawyers actually cares about, but. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Draft resolution number 3, appointment of Mark O'Connor of Laval, New York, to the Lewis County Industrial Development Agency Board of Directors to fill a vacancy created by a prior resignation. The appointment will be effective April 8th, 2026, and will serve at the pleasure of the Board of Legislators.
Move that draft resolution number 3 be forwarded to the full board for action. Do I have a second? Tom, any discussion?
There's, again, no resume I don't know him. I'm not saying anything bad or anything good. But we've kind of gone down this hole before.
Right. We've been trying to figure out the road down here, but if you'd like in the future, a minimum of a resume, we can do that.
I would like it
Something.
to the back.
Okay.
Or in the packet here so we can just see. I mean,
Yep. Okay.
We've had trouble before.
Yes.
We're in that. I hate to do it again. I'm
Yeah.
not saying anything bad against, I just don't know
Okay.
one way or the other.
I will just let you know, basically, yes, we could definitely get the resume so everyone's aware, but we had an engineer resign from the board. So he is a retired DOT engineer. So that was kind of who they were looking for to kind of step into that portion of it for the IDA. But no, absolutely.
That's fine. Again, nothing bad. I just don't know.
So you know. Any further discussion? Okay, it's been moved and seconded that draft resolution number 3 be forwarded to the full board. No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Draft resolution number 4, authorization to hold a public hearing on May 5th, 2026 to solicit community input on potential 2026 New York State Community Development Block Grant funding applications for projects related to community development, economic development, and public facilities. The hearing fulfills required citizen participation requirements and will inform the county's submission of grant applications for up to $1 million per project.
Move that draft resolution number 4 be forwarded to the full board for action. Do I have a second? Jeff? It has been moved and seconded that draft resolution number 4 be forwarded to the full board for action. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is adopted.
Draft resolution number 5 is authorization to hold a second public hearing for the Lewis County Imminent Threat Program, CDBG project number 636 IT 566-25. The hearing, scheduled for May 5th, 2026 at the Lewis County Courthouse, will provide residents with an opportunity to comment on the accomplishments and administration of the $274,710 program in compliance with New York State CDBG citizen participation requirements.
I move that draft resolution number 5 be forwarded to the full board for action. Do I have a second? Okay. Gary? It has been moved and seconded that draft resolution number 5 be forwarded to the full board for action. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Draft resolution number 6, approval of an 11% increase in health insurance premiums for all 3 Lewis County health plan options. Effective June 1st, 2026, the increase is recommended by the plan administrator, county, and hospital management teams based on actuarial analysis by Milliman to ensure the fund can sustain claims and maintain a stable balance.
I move that draft resolution number 6 be forwarded to the full board for action. Do I have a second? Herb? Any discussion now that it has been seconded and the resolution will be forwarded to the full board for action? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion's adopted. So that completes all the unfinished business, but we do have new business. I would invite Timothy Hunt, the county manager, to come forward to give a presentation on rising demand, limited capacity, addressing the need for expanded grant support.
Okay. Most of the county departments now are relying on some sort of grant or grant administration to help offset the local tax dollars that we're doing. The impacts of this is there's more funding, but it's been more complex. Since COVID-19, the number and scale of funding has increased significantly, creating a more complex and competitive grant environment. And I'll just show you a synopsis here pretty quick, but there is a growing community need. Obviously, a lot of the towns and villages are also reaching out, asking if we can find grants. I know, Josh, you just did your water project, and that was pretty heavily dependent on that. Rising costs, construction costs have increased 20 to 30% since 2020. And we're working with the highway department to leverage the dollars that they're getting through the CHIPS program to try to make those dollars go farther with some of that. So a little synopsis, getting grants is a lot like sales, right? You got to throw a lot in the hopper and see what comes out the bottom. Last year, we wrote 45, the grant department wrote 45 grants, and they actually received 20 of them, totaling $8.1 million. So that's a lot of money coming into Lewis County from outside the area to help offset our local tax base. They're very good at it. I can't say enough, between Cassie and Grace, they are really knocking it out of the park. So just to give you a little idea of the number of grants submitted by the planning department, since 2020 to 2025, last year, 45 grants were submitted. You can see that every year they're doing more and more submissions, and that's how you start to become successful at it, is getting the grants out there. And I would say that one of the things that's very impressive is they don't just write grants and throw them at the wall. Everything is a planned activity. This is what we need, and this is what we write the grant about. We don't just take grants because they're available. It's all part of following a plan and working through that plan. So countywide needs have increased, and the big one that we want to talk about today is the Lewis County Health System. We think there's an opportunity there to help the hospital and really focus on grant writing for them. Also, the village of Lowville is getting ready to do the DRI process, which is the 10 million DRI, and that is going to be a 3 or 4 year process of really administering all of that money and handling that. There's a lot of paperwork and a lot that goes into that. And some of the villages and towns are all looking at PERs to update their water, sewage, and also their planning. And so those are all some of the requests that are coming, and the group upstairs is maxed out. We'd like to leverage the eligible administrative cost of administering these programs. For example, the village DRI, there will be an administrative fee that comes back to the county. By bundling those up, and as well as a contract with the hospital, we feel that we can offset the cost of hiring an additional person in the grants department. So the village DRI is obviously a 3-year project, and then it goes away. Potential reimbursement on that is up to 20% of the project costs. We don't anticipate that we would bill that high, but that is what potentially could happen. But the Lewis County Health System also has a consistent and significant need for grant writing. And so what we're going to propose is that we sign an MOU with the hospital for a fee of $85,000 per year for our planning department to help write grants for the hospital. That money will help the grants department by hiring an additional person there. So in your packet, I'm gonna try to propose that we create a grant administrator. And we have a grant coordinator right now. We're gonna have a grant administrator who will oversee another grant person. So that's what we're looking to do, is add one grant position in that department. That wages will be offset with the administrative fees and with the MOU with the hospital. So any questions?
I think it's a great idea. It helps the hospital. It helps us. It's good for everyone around.
I think it should be pointed out too, Tim, that the hospital's lacking out and getting a lot of this federal money. Samaritan got something like $20 million last year to help them with their grant writers and whatnot. There's a pool of money out there. We just have to the hospital just needs somebody to tap into it. And that's my understanding, that they would be helping the hospital out in that matter.
Yes. Right now, New York State has $200 million set aside that has to be spent this year for infrastructure for hospitals. The hospital, one of the challenges is you got to have somebody to oversee a grant writer who knows grant writing. And we have a department that can do that. They're very good at it. So I think this could be a real beneficial relationship with the hospital to help get money in there to offset some of the taxpayer support of it.
I think it's a great idea. Is it enough? I guess I'm asking, is one person going to be enough to do everything that needs to be done for the hospital without cutting the county short? I mean, I think the county needs to be thinking of taking advantages of as many grants. I think we are, but
Right.
if we're shorthanded, we're not going to get as many as we possibly could.
I think it would be better to come back in 6 or 8 months and say, this is what that additional staff person has been able to accomplish. Maybe that $8 million number is 10 or 12. I don't know what that would be, right? That at that point we can reevaluate and decide, does it make sense to add another one? What I can tell you is that the two that are doing the primary grant writing, Cassie and Grace, are maxed. They're flat out. And so every time they get a call from a town or a village or, even to help the hospital looking at this 200 million that's sitting out there and saying, let's get some of that coming to Lewis County, that we just don't have the bandwidth to do it right now. So
I would just like to make sure that we put it on in our minds in
Yeah.
6 or 8 months to come back and look to make sure we're
Yeah.
still doing all we can to get grants into the county. I
absolutely.
think if we can get money from outside of the county instead of taxes, that's how we benefit the county.
I agree.
I think it's great to help the local municipalities, but this is tied to the hospital paying the 85,000. If that money ever dries up, we're not stuck with a position we can't fund anymore,
Correct.
right?
Yep. The intention is for this position to be fully funded.
Any other questions or comments? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Tim. So with that, I move to authorize the establishment of an interdepartmental partnership between the Lewis County Health System and the Lewis County Planning and Community Development Department for grant writing, development, and administrative services, outlining the terms and scope of services and an annual cost of approximately $85,000 to the health system. Further amending the county compensation plan to create one full-time grant manager position with a salary range of $58,000 to $82,552 annually. Do I have a second? Herb, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Further with that, I move to authorize 3 intermunicipal agreements between the county and the Village of Laval for New York State Downtown Revitalization Initiative, DRI, projects C1003375, which is the Veterans Park Improvements, C1003376, which is Downtown Branding and Wayfinding Strategies, and C1003374, which is the State Street Revitalization, including provisions for reimbursement administration, whereby the village will submit requests to New York State and remit administrative reimbursements to the County Planning and Community Development Department, not to exceed 20% of each project's total cost. Do I have a second? Jeff, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. So with the adoption of these motions, I request that the terms of the motions be incorporated into respective resolutions for the April 7th board meeting. Okay, and then I would like to call an attorney-client privileged meeting or session.
Jessica, if I could, I would request an attorney-client privilege session to discuss potential litigation or negotiations of an existing contract. And I would ask that the rest of the Board of Legislators, in addition to the members of this committee, be asked to stay for that, as well as the county manager, the deputy county manager, and the clerk of the board.
I'll make that motion. Do I have a second? Herb? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're in executive session.
The Lewis County General Service Committee is called to order. The clerk of the board will proceed with a roll call.
Legislator Leviker.
Here.
Legislator Osborne.
Here.
Legislator Nortz.
Here.
Legislator Nellenbach.
Here.
Legislator Hanno.
Here.
And Legislator Dahlhoff.
I move to approve the committee minutes dated February 24th, 2026. Can I get a second? It's been moved in second that the committee minutes from January 24th, 2026 be approved. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Presentations, we have one presentation for today. Code Enforcement Officer request by John Rose, Director of Building and Fire Codes.
Good afternoon. So Connor's going to run just a few slides. We'll keep this simple, but we've had some personnel changes with a retirement in our office. And what I'm going to present to you as a board is to consider upgrading what was formerly or is currently administrative specialist, keyboard specialist. And we'd like to present you to consider elevating that to a fully certified code enforcement officer. And we'll go through some data just to show kind of where we're at and why we're asking for this. But just a few on this slide, we just put a few changes on there, just the way things are headed. So the job function is changing, has changed as over the last couple of years, we've went from a lot of paper, a lot of hard mail, a lot of filing and logging things to more automation through cloud permit and other changes that continue to come and are certainly going to continue to happen. And so the need for just a dedicated secretarial position, logging and mailing and doing those things is changing a little bit due to automation. The department organization has changed as well in that we've added a director role. And the reason we put that on there is just because I think the intent of creating this director position was to somewhat designate myself currently, but a director to do more, to be more outside of the everyday receiving of just typical phone calls and permitting and that type of thing, and to really be the director of the department, seeing the things that are on the future with code changes, legal changes, and just whatever needs to be done. So by nature, that diminishes the amount of time I can put into code enforcement in order to do the director role properly. And then even more code enforcement and inspection expected. And that's just common sense, right? Property maintenance is continuing to become more and more of an issue. That would be the category we call code enforcement. Inspections are always increasing with more and more regulations. Of course, we have the short-term rental, which is just starting to come into effect. And so those things, that's why we're saying more inspections expected. And then we can go to so this is the third, and this is the main slide I want you to take a look at. And before you confuse yourself too much, I'll try to break it down. So if you want to start just on that lower line where we have the total hours, and this is just basic computation of the time that we have for each officer, 2,080 hours per year. If we use on average the allotted time to us, that's actually a little bit less than the allotted time. We come up with 250 hours already taken. Our required training, and again, this would be a bare minimum, 40 hours each officer. And then if we attribute 1 hour of our day for just basic office administration, that would be take a phone call, that would be take 10 minutes to try to grab a bite to eat, because we don't have a lunch hour factored into our day. And so if you take all those numbers, you're left with basically 1,600 hours per CEO annually to actually work. And again, that's a very generous number because that's not taking into account just the distractions, the long phone calls, the inquiries about hey, we're from New Jersey and we're looking at a property up here and what can we do with it? Sometimes those phone calls can be an hour long, even though we're trying to get off the phone because it's one question after another. We try to find that balance between being rude and being informative. So if you go up to the top right, we currently, if you take 4.5 inspectors, which would be myself as halftime, you end up with, we're basically have 7,200 hours currently available for code enforcement. And we're proposing going to 5 full-time inspectors. And then that would still be me in addition to that as a director. So 5 full-time inspectors would give us around 8,000 hours. Now, if you jump over to the left side, that 4,250 inspections, that was an actual hard number from last year. And that's a low number. That's taking only that's only what I can absolutely prove from cloud permit inspections documented. There would have been several, I say several, but quite a few, maybe 10% at least more than that done, that are just site visits, like things that people need that are just not documentable. So if we attribute 1 hour per inspection, and again, that's kind of just a number, but that would have to include for a complete inspection, that's all the time attributed to, the dispatching of it, putting it on a calendar, the drive time, the inspection time, and the logging. That's a complete inspection. So that right there takes 4,250 hours, again, from last year. Last year, also, the 830 permits was, in fact, basically a hard number. 200 code enforcement cases, that's what was documented. And again, that doesn't take into account many calls that we get that we, for one reason or another, we just either can't follow up on it or don't follow up because it's not to the degree that it can skip over something else, but it certainly should be followed up on. And then further, I want to point out that the 3 hours per permit and 3 hours per code enforcement case, that's basically taking the hours that we have left over and making 3 hours work. That's not saying 3 hours is adequate. In fact, I'm here to present and propose 3 hours per building permit, maybe. But again, that's taking a building permit from the day that the first notice hits our desk to the day that it's closed out. That may stretch over 3 years, but if you work the numbers out, we have to be processing a full building permit in 3 hours aggregate. That's really not an acceptable number. But when we get down to code enforcement cases, 3 hours is not even in the ballpark. I think all of you know from some of the things that we've been dealing with, in some cases for years, code enforcement takes a lot of man hours and time. There's a lot of back and forth. There's sometimes court. There's just a lot. So I just put that slide together to try to give you an idea. I tried to use hard numbers. I could have blown these up a lot to try to prove something, but I wanted to use hard numbers, but not written into there is just the everyday real life stuff. I mean, that's if our day goes exactly as planned. That's walking in the office and no distractions, which we know that's not how it works. So do you men have any questions for me, or you want any more information on that?
John, do you notice in the last, let's say 3, 4, 5 years that permits have gone up and they're going to continue to go up, and maybe in another year, 2, 3, you're going to ask for another inspector? I mean, I'm not putting you on the spot for that, but if that's always going to be maybe that's a trend in Lewis County now that you're getting more permits.
Yeah, that's a fair question. Actually, the 830 permits is down a touch. We were at over 1,000. I think last year was a little over 900, and this year was down a little bit. The 2 years prior to that, we were up around 1,200 and 1,100, somewhere in there. But they were also coming off of COVID and a little bit slower time. So it's really the code, the property maintenance and the things that we're seeing happening. And we're not even talking about trying to clean up some of the buildings that are falling down. We're talking about we're getting calls, 3 calls in the last 24 hours for properties that have garbage piles 8 to 9 feet high, just thrown out the door and piling up out back. That's the type of thing that we can't even give that proper service, much less the buildings that are falling down and all that. So it's really, I would say, driving this less than number of building permits would be just the basic health and safety of our county that we're just
losing a grip on, and the further it slides, the further it's going to be hard to bring it back. That's kind of becoming the new normal. And that's what I'm really afraid of. And our residents are too. And the reality is when we get called for that type of stuff, it has to jump over top of building permits by nature. And so then what happens is we're not doing building permitting properly and timely. And so people are just going ahead with projects without building permits. And so you can see how we're creating this ball that gets bigger and bigger. And we're losing on both sides because we can't do proper inspections. We can't do proper permitting and reviews and so forth. So are we going to ask for another officer in a few years? I can't answer that, but we're going to do our absolute best to continue to innovate and get as much of this, as much automation as we can in efficiency, but there's a lot ahead of us. I guess I have one more question, kind of two parts. If you get rid of a keyboard specialist, is each CEO going to do their own keyboarding? And have you looked at a cost of what it would be to put another CEO on versus keyboarding specialist?
The cost difference is $12,000 between a keyboard specialist and a starting CEO. So about $12,000 of an increase here. And to John's point, the automation, now everybody's got iPads, they have cloud permit. So instead of bringing back papers and having to re-enter it, they're literally doing it in the field. So the amount of administrative work has become very de minimis, and it's really better with each of them doing their own work directly inputting it. So,
and I would say too, in preparation of our secretary's departure, we've spent the last 6 months really getting ready for this and testing it out to see, because that was a natural question. Is it, what good is it if now each of us is just splitting her time amongst us? But it really, of course, there's going to be some of that, but it really doesn't play out that way, because with cloud permit and the modern systems that we're using, we're by nature doing more of our own administrative, as well as notices and all that type of thing are auto-generated. And a lot of it's going out electronically. And that's another area we're trying to get away from as much hard mailing because of cost and all that. So again, it's a fair question. It's something I can't give a definitive answer to. There's going to be some overlap where it'd be like, yeah, it'd be nice to have a secretary to do this. But there's also, you get into that passing it from one desk to the other. And she was always, most every phone call she took, she had to basically just redirect them to a code officer, because she, even if she knew the answer from listening to us, she just didn't have the authority to give that answer, not being certified. So yeah, we're still working through some of that, of course, just to try to be as efficient as we can. But I think automation and some of the other things we're working on is going to take care of another big portion of that for us, what she had been doing.
Any other questions? No?
All set. Thank you.
Okay, we will now move on to draft resolutions and motions.
Okay. Draft resolution number 1 is amending the Lewis County compensation plan with the Department of Fire and Building Codes by abolishing a vacant senior keyboard specialist position and creating a full-time code enforcement officer position to better meet departmental operational needs.
I move that draft resolution number 1 be forwarded to the full board for action. Can I have a second? Any? It's been moved and second that draft resolution number 1 be forwarded to the full board for action. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried.
Draft resolution number 2, determination that a fire damaged and collapsed structure located at 6585 Oliver Place in the hamlet of Glenfield constitutes an unsafe and hazardous condition under local law number 2-2007. The board will consider a finding that the structure is beyond repair and must be removed, and will set a public hearing for May 5th, 2026, requiring the property owner's representative to show cause why the county should not proceed with demolition and debris removal. The resolution also authorizes enforcement actions, including cost recovery, should the responsible party fail to comply.
I move that draft resolution number 2 be forwarded to the full board for action. Can I have a second? It's been moved and second that draft resolution number 2 be forwarded to the full board for action. Is there any discussion?
Got a big hole there. Is there something being done with that?
It's been fenced off due to the snow. This fence has collapsed and
It was funny, I just drove by and I'm thinking, the big hole there because it must have been
the
basement
property owner
area.
had removed the debris.
Yeah.
And had fenced off the perimeter during the winter months. So.
Yep.
It's been moved and second that the draft resolution number 2 be forwarded to the full board for action. Any discussion? No? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? Motion adopted.
Draft resolution number 3, authorizing the Lewis County Highway Department to enter into a 3-year extension agreement with Novo Solutions Incorporated for operations management software supporting asset maintenance and job costing at a fixed cost of $9,940 per year from January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2028. It also authorizes the highway superintendent to execute the agreement subject to approval by the county attorney.
I move that draft resolution number 3 be forwarded to the full board for action. Can I have a second? Discussion. It's been moved and second that draft resolution number 3 be forwarded to the full board for action. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion is adopted.
Draft resolution number 4, authorization for the Lewis County Highway Department to enter into an agreement with Barton and LaJudas to provide preliminary engineering and design services for a guide rail installation project on County Route 55 in the town of Denmark. The project is supported by a $41,500 Highway Safety Improvement Program grant for the preliminary phase, with additional final design services not to exceed $18,500 for a total contract amount not to exceed $60,000. The agreement will facilitate advancement of the project through the design phase.
I move that draft resolution number 4 be forwarded to the full board for action. Can I have a second? Benny? It's been moved and second that draft resolution number 4 be forwarded to the full board for action. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion adopted.
Draft resolution number 5, authorization to enter into a federal aid local project agreement with the New York State Department of Transportation for the County Route 55 guide rail installation project. The resolution commits the county to initially fund 100% of eligible project costs with reimbursement through the Highway Safety Improvement Program at a 95% federal and 5% local share. It also appropriates $41,500 for the preliminary engineer/design phase and authorizes execution of all necessary agreements and documentation to advance the project.
I move that draft resolution number 5 be forwarded to the full board for action. Can I have a second? It's been moved and second that draft resolution number 5 be forwarded to the full board for action. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion adopted.
Draft resolution number 6, authorization to execute supplemental agreement number 4 with the New York State Department of Transportation for the Marshy Road Bridge Replacement Project in the town of Diana. The agreement secures an additional $3,633,000 in federal, state, and local funding for the construction and construction inspection phase and appropriates these funds within the Capital Bridge Program to advance project completion.
I move that draft resolution number 6 be forwarded to the full board for action. Can I have a second? Jeff? It's been moved and second that draft resolution number 6 be forwarded to the full board for action. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion adopted.
Draft resolution number 7, authorization to award a $3,058,072.52 construction contract to Vector Construction Corporation, the lowest responsible bidder for the Marshy Road Bridge replacement over the West Branch Oswegatchie River in the town of Diana. The project will be funded through 80% federal, 15% state, and 5% local sources, and authorizes execution of all necessary agreements.
I move that draft resolution number 7 be forwarded to the full board for action. Can I have a second? Tom? It's been moved and second that draft resolution number 7 be forwarded to the full board for action. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion is adopted.
Draft resolution number 8, authorization for the Lewis County Highway Superintendent to award bids for the purchase of hot asphalt mix for the 2026-2027 season in accordance with general municipal law. Awards will be made to the lowest responsible bidders based on project location and associated trucking costs following review of proposals received and opened on March 10th, 2026.
I move that draft resolution number 8 be forwarded to the full board for action. Can I have a second? Discussion? Please note, I will recuse myself from this draft resolution due to a conflict. It's been moved and second that the draft resolution number 8 be forwarded to the full board for action. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion adopted.
We'll just show that Mr. Levicker has recused.
Draft resolution number 9, authorization for the Lewis County Highway Superintendent to award bids for liquid bituminous materials and related services for the 2026-2027 season in accordance with general municipal law. Contracts will be awarded to multiple qualified vendors for various applications, including reprofiling, crack filling, slurry seal, and microsurfacing based on bid review and tabulation completed by the Highway Department.
I move that draft resolution number 9 be forwarded to the full board for action. Can I have a second? Benny? It's been moved and second that draft resolution number 9 be forwarded to the full board for action. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion adopted.
Draft resolution number 10, authorizing the Lewis County Superintendent, John Reed, to award the pavement marking contract to Seneca Pavement Markings Incorporated of Horseheads, New York, as the lowest eligible bidder for the period of April 1st, 2026 through March 31st, 2027.
I move that draft resolution number 10 be forwarded to the full board for action. Can I have a second? It's been moved and second that draft resolution number 10 be forwarded to the full board for action. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion adopted.
Draft resolution number 11, authorization for the Lewis County Highway Superintendent to award bids for various highway road project materials, including sand, stone, gravel, and concrete for the 2026-2027 season. Awards will be made to the lowest responsible bidders based on project location and trucking costs, following the review and tabulation of bids received on March 10th, 2026.
I move that draft resolution number 11 be forwarded to the full board for action. Can I have a second? Discussion? Please note, I will recuse myself for this draft resolution due to a conflict.
Thank you.
Just a question, should Josh not make the motion on those?
He probably should, but it's already been done. So as long as he's on the recusal on the motion when it comes
I mean,
to
it just
the,
sounds odd, I don't.
yeah, when it comes to the full board, he'll recuse at that time as well.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is adopted.
Draft resolution number 12, award of bid and authorization of a contract with MJ Leindecker Logging LLC for the harvesting of timber on the North-South Road reforestation parcel in the town of Lionsdale. The contract valued at $37,365 will run from April 7th, 2026 through April 30th, 2028, and authorizes the contractor to pay the county for the forest products as recommended by the Recreation, Forestry, and Parks Department.
I move that draft resolution number 12 be forwarded to the full board for action. Can I have a second? It's been moved and second that draft resolution number 12 be forwarded to the full board for action. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is adopted.
Draft resolution number 13, authorizing the Director of Recreation, Forestry, and Parks to purchase equipment and in-kind services under Phase 1 of the Lewis County Winter Recreation Master Plan, funded through the New York State DEC Adirondack Park and Catskill Park Community Smart Growth Grant Program. The county has been awarded $72,245.20 to support the development of non-motorized winter recreational trails within the Adirondack boundary.
I move that draft resolution number 13 be forwarded to the full board for action. Can I have a second? Jeff? It's been moved and second that draft resolution number 13 be forwarded to the full board for action. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is adopted.
I would just like to say on the record that the draft resolution 14 has been pulled.
Okay. We have no unfinished business, new business. Lewis County Trail Initiative Master Plan by Tim Hunt.
Okay, I want to give a little update on the master plan for the trail initiative. Resolution 170 of 2023, so a number of years ago, authorizing an agreement with Alta consulting firm for $579,560 to develop the master plan for the rail trail. What happened is this was negotiated down to $533,845. We completed work order number 1, which was the economic and health benefit analysis for a cost of $62,858, leaving a balance left to spend of $470,987. The project was then put on pause because we were waiting for the Surface Transportation Board to authorize the actual sale and transfer of the railroad to Lewis County. So the project has been on pause since then. In late November, we went to re-engage Alta, and they went silent until January. So about a month, there was a little, like, we thought maybe Christmas break. We didn't really know what was going on. When we were able to get in touch with them, what we found out is that their staff in New York State is no longer here in New York State. They proposed to us a price increase and a tightening of the scope, and this is their proposal. So you'll see that number 4, the economic and health benefit analysis, is at 0 because that's already been completed. But then the project management meetings, the overview of existing conditions. The big one for us is the public participation. As we've said, this is really important that we get a lot of public participation and we understand what the public wants with this railroad bed. And they were proposing a $42,420 increase from the original contract. I didn't think that was really a good idea. So I reached out to some other engineering firms using the LDSA list, and I reached out to Alta, and we asked them to please quote on the remaining tasks that were there. They gave us a proposal for $399,720. That is $113,000 less than Alta. And then I reached out to Creighton Manning, and Creighton Manning is the one who is actually doing the Adirondack Rail Trail, and has done it. And they gave us a proposal to do those scopes of services for $382,900, $130,000 less than Alta. So I am going to make a recommendation that we change consulting firms to Creighton Manning at a savings of $130,000 for the public, and we get started on the project as soon as we can.
Just one question, Tim. When this, the original contract with Alta, did we set that money aside? Was that money set aside, or was that something that we were going to pay him as we went?
Well, to be specific, yes, it was authorized to be spent it is in that fund for the rail trail project. But it sits there, and the only amount that's been spent is the $62,858. So
Tim, I have a question. So, back when the county received bids from Alta, were these other did the other consulting firms, did they bid on it as well?
one of them did, Labella did.
But they were higher at that point?
No, we did not select at that point the lowest bid.
Alta was the best.
That's, everybody felt Alta at that time was the best consultant to do this. Like I say, they had a staff here up in the Albany area. They had experience doing this. I think everybody was very comfortable with Alta doing it. And then that has since changed in that time frame.
Now their New York staff left. Did they go to one of these consulting firms?
They did not. They did not.
Okay. But the Creighton and the one consultant you said did the.
Yeah, so Labella bid on the first one. Creighton, what I did is I used the LDSA list, which is a pre-approved list of consultants that New York State does for the counties every year. No, I think it's like a 2 or 3 year cycle, and we're allowed to select off that. We don't necessarily have to go to bid on that. And so I reached out to 2 firms that had experience with rail trails just to get some feel of the pricing, and that's what we have here. So.
And they're the ones that did the one in the Adirondack.
Yes, Creighton's the one working on the Adirondack Rail Trail right now.
Thanks.
Does the savings go back into the general fund, or we keep it in the rail trail?
I would assume it's the savings, or the money is already in the rail trail fund. So if I don't spend it all, it stays there. It wouldn't be taken out and moved to the general fund.
Yeah, Tim, if I can just clarify, that's correct. It's currently in the reserve. If it's not spent, it stays in the reserve, and it takes legislative action to move it from the reserve back to the general fund.
Tim, am I correct in assuming this is for both rails, both spurs? How are we going to deal with the one in Jefferson County?
I'd love to give it to Jefferson County. Working on that.
We know they don't want it, but
no, that's not true. Actually, I've reached out to the town supervisor, and they would. They're just trying to figure out how to set up like an IDA or an LCDC to put it in. So I think there is some possibility that they would take that.
Is there any legality to us buying something in Jefferson County as a county?
No.
We
We actually used to own a gravel bed in Jefferson County, and we sold that a couple of years ago. But yes, we own property outside of the county, just like Carthage owns a water reservoir in Lewis County.
Any other questions?
Are we in a contract with Alta now?
We are, and we have a 10-day out.
How long would it take for any of these Creighton Manning or Labella to hit the ground running?
They're both ready to go. Either one of them. I will tell you with Labella, and I'll just be very honest about it. Labella does a fair amount of work for us right now. They've been doing some updating of zoning laws for some of the towns, and they're also the contractor that was selected for our comprehensive plan update. And I don't think that's a good idea for it'll get confusing for the public as to what they're working on and what they're doing. And so that's one of the reasons, but it's also cost is that it's cheaper to go with Creighton Manning. But I don't think it's really good to put all of our eggs in one basket either.
And I think to add to that, Tim, having Creighton Manning with their expertise in the Adirondack Rail Trail, that's in her neighboring backyard, and they're well versed in that. So they bring some good expertise to the table. Thank you, Tim. So following the presentation, I have one motion I move to authorize the county to enter in a professional service agreement with Creighton Manning Engineering and Surveying PLLC for the completion of the Rail Trail Master Plan and Design services in an amount not to exceed $382,900, and further authorizing the termination of the existing agreement with Alta Planning and Design, Inc., in accordance with its terms, and authorizing the chair or vice chair of the board to execute all necessary documents subject to approval by the county attorney. Can I get a second? Tom? It's been moved in second to enter, sorry. I move that draft. I moved the motion to be forwarded to the full board for action. Can I have a second? Did that, okay. It's been moved in second that the motion be forwarded to the full board for action. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is adopted. The adoption of this motion, I request the terms of the motion be incorporated into a resolution for the April 7th board meeting. Following that, I see no executive session. A motion for adjournment. Benny, we're adjourned.
Roll call, please, Cassandra.
Legislator Calamus,
Here.
Legislator Frost,
Here.
Legislator Nortz,
Here.
Legislator Hanno,
Here.
Legislator Leindecker,
Here.
and Legislator Dahlhoff.
I move to approve the committee meetings from February 24, 2026. Do I have a second? Mike? Been approved and second. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Meeting minutes adopted. We have two presentations. First one is the Youth Engagement Leadership in Lewis County Youth Bureau Advisory Board Student Representation. You're ready to go.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having us in. I'm pretty sure you're all aware of who I am at this point, but in case not, my name's Caitlin Lawler. My official title is Youth Services Coordinator for Lewis County, but the hat I tend to wear the most is the Director of the Youth Bureau. And these are all our student representatives behind me. They're going to come up and speak a little towards the end on their experience being part of the board, but I wanted to go over the county funding. So I kind of split it into different sections just to go over what's been happening, where the money's been going, the outcomes of it. I also wanted to include some initiatives that the Youth Bureau has started to take on outside of county funding that we're kind of doing independently. The value of our youth representation is going to be the student members talking, and then just highlighting the partnerships that we've created over the past couple of years. Before I dive into all that, just to make sure everyone understands, the mission statement is to provide, promote, and expand opportunities for the positive development of youth. So I just wanted to go over the past 3 years. I started in March 2024, so it's been almost 2 years a little over 2 years. So it's broken down in the charts 2024. Those are all the applicants that applied and received funding. The same in 2025. Those are all the ones that received. And in 2026, the numbers on the bottom are the amounts that were given to us by the county, which we're very thankful for. So in 2024, we had 12,500 to advertise. As you can see, we were able to award 7 different applicants. Those are all listed up there. And in your handouts, I gave you the press releases, which explain a little more about, because these are just the names of everyone that got funding. I didn't want to overcrowd the slide. It's busy enough already. So those will explain more exactly how much they got, what programs were, how it was going to be used, and everything like that. So, but ever since I started, I kind of wanted to raise awareness of the Youth Bureau because honestly, at first, some people in the county didn't even know who we were, what we did. We do get out county funding as well as state funding from OCFS, but today I'm just going to talk about the county funding. A good thing about this and why we tend to have more applicants apply, especially now that they're aware of it, is that this is not reimbursable. The state funding people do have to have that money to upfront anything that they have an initiative or any program that they want to do. But this one, all they have to do is make sure they send me a very clear budget, all the cost of every single item. And then we do follow up and make sure that that's been used appropriately. But as you can see, in 2024, all of those programs were in Loudville directly. So it was kind of all centralized. I think I already mentioned I wanted to make sure people in the county were aware of us since this is funding available to all of Lewis County. So those are everyone that applied too. And that was kind of what I saw in past years because I went back through 2 years before I had started and there was usually like 5 to maybe 7 applicants at a time. But in 2025, you can see there was an increase. Not everyone that applied is up on that slide. There's 11 applicants total. So 3 of them we were not able to give funding to. But I really was happy to see the diversity, the increase in the different areas. We have Beaver Camp, West Leiden, Harrisville, Beaver River, Lions Falls, Copenhagen. So people were hearing more about this. And the total amount requested, we got $15,000 from the county that year, but the total amount that was requested by all of those were $41,000. Whereas the previous year it was $16,000 in requests. So a few people had to have some cuts, but it was almost equal to what we had available. Whereas there's a huge increase in 2025. 2026, we had 20 applicants apply. So we were only able to award 9 of them funding. That totaled to $56,000 in requests. So to me, that's a clear sign that there are a lot of youth programs that now know about us, but are struggling in certain areas. They need extra funding, they need extra support to make some of these things happen. So On this side, I just kind of wanted to break down the outcomes. So I have a chart over here that shows the number of youth participants. In 2024, that was over 1,500. In 2025, it was a little over 300. In 2026, this is an estimate since we just awarded that funding and it's been given out. That's a little over 1,000. So I just wanted to explain why there's that huge dip, because obviously we do look at as being important the number of youth that are participating in these programs. But in 2024, we were funding summer recreation, we were funding winter recreation, we funded a book vending machine for Lowville Elementary. So I was taking into account that could serve over 600 kids total. I'm not sure the exact number that received a book that year, but they had that capacity to be able to do so. So those are some larger programs that the funding was going to directly to serve all the youth in them. In 2025, though, we kind of were able to help fund some smaller ones. We helped with certain ones like Beaver Camp. That was for scholarships for kids that wouldn't have been able to afford to participate otherwise. Some of the students from Copenhagen behind me, they got a school field trip. So smaller initiatives, smaller programs. So to me, it's still just as important, even though it's not that large of a number. I just wanted to explain too that we do site visits. I always like to stop by, and I encourage all our members to stop by to check out these programs, to meet the people running them. They get to meet us. It's always exciting to see the kids that are taking part and how happy and excited they are. And then they usually are great at sending me information, even if I don't ask for it. We get thank you cards, which I have hung up around my cubby, and I always share with the group. They send pictures, they send updates, like this is how the program went, this is how many kids, things like that. So, and us as the Bureau, we kind of looked at success being measured by the funding being used as requested. So it's being used appropriately, it's all being spent in the ways that they applied for, that positive outcomes are being achieved. I already mentioned that the areas are being reached, that it's not just one particular spot in Lewis County, but it's kind of going everywhere. And then what we really want to see too is sustainable growth. So if we have certain applicants that are applying year after year for funding, the idea in our eyes is to see that they're not applying for the same exact thing at the same exact cost, that they're going to slowly decrease the amount needed, or that they're going to be grounded and established and they might just need extra funding for like equipment that broke, or one of them applied for like sports team jackets to have something new for the kids to wear. And I just wanted to make the presentation fun with some pictures so you all could have that visual. And this is the stuff that we end up getting back, the thank you cards. That's the Copenhagen school trip to Buffalo for the Fine Arts Department. You can see the book vending machine, which we're thankful that they put our logo on, 4-H pictures, summer recreation. So any questions on the county fund before I move on to some of our youth initiatives? So this is what I was talking about, is where these are things that we're kind of developing, working on, that we've made happen outside of county funding. The homeless closet has been going on for a long time now. We always ask for donations, gift cards, money, or if people want to get actual items, it's hygiene items. We take food donations. In the winter, we like to have coats, hats, mittens out, and we put them for free in the DSS lobby, or we let people know that they can stop by if they need anything like that. The students all take boxes to their schools to help collect items like that. Our chair, Lisa Widrick, she always makes sure that the courthouse knows, and she collects items and brings us to them too. So we're happy to take that over. I've started doing that during the summer too, instead of just wintertime, because last year we were running through things extremely fast. It's not just for people that are homeless, but anyone that's in need. And we found that we were going through food really quickly, and we're just trying to keep it stocked. So now it's like a Christmas in July, and the hospital was definitely on board because that was an easier time of year for them to kind of collect donations. The Screenagers project was something else I have a passion for, especially making people aware of the youth recreation programs and things that are out there where they can socialize in person and participate, be active, or have social emotional learning. So Community Services put out their Future Stories funding project, and I was thankful that we received that grant. So it's been 2 years in a row now that we've been awarded. The first year was kind of focused on using that money to buy the Screenagers movies and curriculum, which all the schools have access to until 2027. And then doing community showings. We gave gift boxes to all the schools that had games, activities where kids could be active, hands-on things, be talking to each other, not on their cell phones. And this year, a lot of that money has been used to do a commercial, which I will be sure to send to you all once that gets finalized. I got the rough draft the other day and it looks really good. Kind of sending that message, put the phone down, get involved in the programming that's out there, and to make people aware of the Youth Bureau, especially organizations if they need funding. We also started the summer recreation subcommittee underneath the Youth Bureau because we saw that there was some need to have discussions around that subject. And it was great to get everyone together to learn what there is exactly in Lewis County for summer recreation in case we didn't know about anything. If anyone was struggling, how we could find other funding for them. And then just to learn, like Beaver River, for example, isn't going to have their district program this summer because of construction. Copenhagen might not have one, Adirondack either. So just having those discussions as a group was really meaningful. And then I had this passion and idea to start the Youth Collaborative because as the Youth Bureau Director, I wanted to make sure that I was completely aware of all the organizations that we're working with or offering services to youth, what exactly they were offering, making sure there was no duplication in anything. And then the biggest component too, if anyone wanted to start something and if they didn't have the funding, weren't able to get it, or just needed some support, that we could have those collaborations. And it's been really great because some of the other agencies weren't aware what other people were doing. So now everyone kind of has that chart and idea of what there is out there, who they can call if they need anything or reach out to. And then I added this on the slide. I'm not going to get too much into it today, but it just made me happy that now we're being reached out to for certain things like having mock court in the school district. So that the Youth Bureau was thought of was very nice to think of. And I can give you updates on that once we hear more about that and if it gets started. Again, just some pictures of the gift boxes being Beaver River, Harrisville. That's the donations at DSS. And then we're thankful to have connections like Lowville Academy reached out to us. They had their 4th grade class make blankets that they want to donate. And they had us come in and they served us hot cocoa. So that was very nice. I'm going to skip this right now because I only have 2 more slides to go through. And I'm going to have the students come up to talk to end it, kind of finish it off. But I just wanted to highlight that we're very thankful for the partnerships. The Youth Bureau in Lewis County has kind of created these other opportunities for those partnerships for community engagement initiatives. The one thing I didn't talk about was the Lewis County Night Out, which is on the next slide, but that is funded by the county. So I didn't want to put that in under the category of ones that were independent. But then we've made other enhanced collaborations with just the agencies, organizations, community partners, things like that. So this is Lewis County Night Out, all kind of summed up. It's been going really great. Last year we had over 300 attendees. This year it is scheduled for Friday, September 11th, 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Lowville Fairgrounds. I highly recommend that you all come and get to meet the community and have those interactions. The night is focused on bringing together law enforcement with the community, but we kind of expand that to be all critical agencies. So like EMS, the fire departments. We want families, kids to come under positive circumstances and get to meet all these agencies, know what they do, know what their purpose is, how they're here to keep us safe. And if they're interested in any future careers, they can make those connections. This year, Mr. Hunt offered to be the speaker during the opening ceremony, so we're thankful for that. And if anyone ever wants to volunteer to be in the dunk tank, you are welcome to reach out to me to do so, because the kids like that, and we want to make them happy and have that be a fun night. So, but now I'm going to invite our student members to come up, introduce themselves, and just talk about what this experience has meant to them.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mackenzie Freeman. I'm a senior at Lowville Academy, and I've been a member of the youth board for a little over 2 years now.
Hello, I'm Shelby Gentry. I'm also a senior at Lowville, and I've been a member for a little over a year.
Hi, my name's Sarah Richardson. I'm from Copenhagen. I'm a junior, and I've been on since early February this year.
Hello, I'm Sophie Dealing. I'm a junior at Copenhagen, and I've been on also since February of this year.
Some impacts our board has had is it allows youth of all backgrounds to be a part of it and have input and engage in decision-making in matters surrounding the youth in our county. We learn the ins and outs of how boards work and the terminology we use at each meeting, and the opportunity to work with other members on the board and get to know them, whether it's other students or members of the community, has been a great way to gain experience.
To add on to that, sorry, the experience has provided opportunities outside of school to get involved in the community and volunteer. For example, last summer, it was in August, I volunteered at Lewis County Night Out to show the Screenagers, which is just like a documentary that brings awareness of topics like mental health or addiction to students and parents, which is good. And it's nice to see the positive impacts of our funding, inputs, and choices and the responses received that are shared with us.
We also provide resources, programs, and opportunities for young people to get involved in, and in turn, that takes them away from their screen and other unhealthy habits. An example is that us students from Copenhagen, we got the opportunity to go to Buffalo to go to an art museum, and then we got to see the musical Wicked, and it was just really great. We got to be immersed in the art and the history, and the Youth Bureau funded that fully, so we got to go for free. And in turn, I hope that the other students and other programs get to feel that too.
The final point we want to make is that since we're on the board, we get to actually like voice what we want for us rather than having adults voice it for us. And we also get the ability to like learn how the government actually works and how the funding works.
Thank you, girls. That was wonderful. And I just want to thank the county for all the support we've received. Any questions or anything like that?
I just want to say you ladies did a very good job.
Yes.
It's nice to hear you talk. I mean, I've been to the meetings. I've seen how you talk. I see how you interact with the community members. I know it's kind of daunting to get up here in front of all these people and say things, but that was a very good presentation, and you represented the Youth Bureau very well.
This was a good experience for them. They let me know that. They all wanted to volunteer. They were happy to be a part of something like this that they wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to. So I have a good team.
Yeah, I would echo what Benny had said. It's great to see the leadership, and it's great to see all the really committed engagement.
All right. Well,
Any
thank
other
you
questions?
all. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll be back in May to present on social media. So.
Next presentation, Older Adults Nutrition. Carla Hellinger, Director of Office for the Aging.
Thank you. What a perfect time to come, as March is National Nutrition Month. So we're excited to be able to present on our nutrition program for older adults in Lewis County. A little bit of overview on our program. So we do support people age 60 and older by providing registered dietitian approved balanced meals, promoting health, independence, dignity, also reducing food insecurity and social isolation. At the core and really the center of our program is our home delivered meals. We have some pictures here of preparing some of those trays for delivery. And we do three. So Fred McManus, and he's here today, provides all of these home delivered meals for our entire county. And when I say entire county, we reach everywhere. They reach everywhere, Fred and his drivers. So 3 days a week, they are providing a hot meal with additional frozen meals. Equally as important is that welfare check that they are doing. And for many of our residents, this is not just about a meal. This is the primary source of their nutrition for the entire day. And it really is the cornerstone for allowing people to remain safely in their homes. The other thing that I will add is that for many of our participants in the program, that check-in by our home delivered meal driver 3 days a week may be the only consistent check-in that they have with someone. So it is very important. So when Fred and his drivers notice any sort of problem, they quickly report that back to our office. We call all of the emergency contacts, and if we're not able to reach them, we will go and do a welfare check. So that's another important part of the program. They do provide critical supports, and as we said, this reaches everywhere in the county. There is not a place that we have asked Fred to go that he will not go. So he's going here, there, and everywhere and helping out our homebound older adults. We have nutritious lunches also served in community settings. So these would be our congregate meal sites. So we offer 6, and I wanted to highlight the first 5: Copenhagen, Croghan, Harrisville, Lowville, and Lyons Falls. The McManus family prepares all of the meals for all 5 of those. West Leyden is a little bit different. I'm going to put up some numbers and show you for the month of February. One of the benefits of our congregate meals is that it does encourage socialization. So it helps to combat social isolation and loneliness. So those are really important for health and well-being. We also offer, through a registered dietitian, nutritional counseling and education. So if somebody has a specific health request or need, she's able to meet with someone on site, by phone, through a video chat as well. And so this is another valuable service that we offer. This program is relatively low cost, and when you look at it as a low cost investment, we can support somebody aging safely in their home for about $10,000 per year is the average, which is less than the cost of 1 month for a higher level of care elsewhere. So that's another important component to our program. So it does support that aging in place, strengthening those community connections, and oftentimes it's a foot in the door for other programs that we offer through our office, right? Because a lot of times people call our office for a major life event after a hospitalization, illness, injury, and oftentimes families don't know the help that they need, and so they call our office. And so somebody that may start by going to a congregate meal site may add some other programs and supports. So the most recent data for 2025, we did 55,468 meals. 11,909 of those were at the congregate sites, which means 43,559 were those home delivered meals. So those are our homebound individuals. And that is with, we have the nutritious meal, we have the checks, the welfare checks by the drivers as well. For our most recent month totals, for the month of February, we did 4,403 meals. Just about 4,300 of those were through Fred McManus and family. So I did reference one other pseudo-congregate site, West Leyden. 105 meals of that total 4,403 were West Leyden. All of the others were Fred McManus. We had 755 total congregate meals served in the month of February, which means 3,543 were home delivered meals. So February being a shorter month, we did serve 19 days. We had one holiday in there. The average number of meals per day, 186. 398 of those were prepared in Harrisville. And when I say they were prepared in Harrisville, Fred still does all of the shopping, takes all of the food there. I can attest he works 7 days a week. I've run into him in the grocery store while he's picking up food to take to Harrisville for Shannon to prepare and serve there. So 398 of those, Harrisville, 1,181 prepared in the Lions Falls kitchen. And Mary Ellen, we do have a photo of you preparing some of those meals here soon. 2,719 were prepared in the Louville kitchen at Double Play. And that's for the month of February. A little breakdown by site. So congregate on the left and then home delivered meal on the right. I am going to have pictures of all of these as well. Copenhagen, we did not have any congregate meal participants for February or thus far for March, but we did have 355 home delivered meals. It is important to note if we don't get reservations and that site is closed for the day, people that would typically come can actually receive a home delivered meal that day. So Krogan, 144 congregate meals and 564 home delivered meals. Harrisville, 119 congregate meals, 279 home delivered meals. Louville, 222 congregate meals, 1,434 home delivered meals. Lions Falls, 270 congregate, 911 home delivered meals, and then West Leiden, which we said is our pseudo congregate site that is at the Milk Plant Tavern. 71 people ate in and 34 people took meals to go. So 105 total. Now we'll have some pictures. So this is the Copenhagen congregate site, United Church of Copenhagen. We don't have any inside pictures because it was closed for the month of February and also March thus far. Krogan at Steeple View. We have Jane here on the left. You can see her in the kitchen. And then on the right, you have the participants. Harrisville, Harris Courts. So kitchen on the left. I don't think we got Shannon in this picture, but and then on the right, you have the tables and the participants. Louville at Double Play Community Center. Lions Falls, McManus Hotel. And there's Mary Ellen in the bottom left. And then West Leiden is our voucher program. So as I said, all of the home delivered meals and 5 of our 6 congregate sites, Fred McManus and family provide all of those meals. Your support really matters. In years past, I'd come before you to request additional funding for our programs. It is important to note that the nutrition program, as we said, it's a cost-effective investment, right? Because it does save, but very high impact in terms of services that we provide, supporting health, independence, and improving the quality of life for residents of Lewis County. Those are our goals for Lewis County Office for the Aging. So it is very important that we have your support, and I want to thank you for that. Little bit of history. I did get this, and Curtis was able to hook me up with this, lionsfallshistory.org. So we have the historic McManus Hotel, which, as you saw previously, serves as one of our congregate dining sites. McManus purchased this April 1st, 1975, and eventually changed ownership to their son, Fred McManus. At this time, I would like for Fred and Mary Ellen and Colin to come up, and we'll have Mr. certificates. And I'll just read this in case not everybody can see. In grateful recognition of 50 years exceptional service. Lewis County hereby honors the McManus family for their unwavering commitment, leadership, and compassion in support of the Lewis County Office for the Aging Nutrition Program. For 5 decades, the McManus family has helped ensure that older adults throughout Lewis County receive not only nutritious meals, but also dignity, connection, and care. Their steadfast dedication has strengthened our community, supported generations of older residents, and exemplified the highest spirit of public service.
So I would just like to add a sincere thank you to the McManus family. I have seen this program work in Lions Falls when I moved back in 1976. Mary Ellen was running it then. Fred's older brother was the chef. And she has been continuously in the program for over 50 years. 50 years. Yeah. And I try to understand the complexity of this program, talking with Carla. I still don't understand how Fred possibly gets the whole county fed every day of the week. But it's truly an amazing program. It's so wonderful for our older population, seniors, to have a place to congregate and have a home check-in. You know, when somebody delivers them a meal, it's a fantastic program. And I thank you all for keeping it and continuing the process.
Yes.
Mike. All right, Mike. Switching, we should be here. Walk forward to zoom in now. That's what the teenagers tell you.
Cassie, can we have Curtis and Vicky come up, please?
Really?
Very close.
Hide in the back, hide in the back. Right.
Thank you. Yes, I did.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I got them here under the guise that if I got stuck on a question, I would need their help. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your continued support of this program. And any questions or? All right. Thank you.
I want to know logistically how many miles they put on cars.
Thanks, Carla.
Thank you.
We now move on to draft resolutions. Cassandra, please.
Thank you. Draft resolution number 1, authorization to appropriate and transfer $25,000 in previously received and unrestricted New York State Office of Mental Health Community Support Program funds from the Community Services Reserve to buildings and grounds. The funds will be used to support necessary improvements at the 7714 number 3 road facility, including the establishment of corresponding revenue and expenditure lines to complete the project.
Would someone like to move that? Mike, second. Vinnie? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion adopted.
Draft resolution number 2, authorization to transfer $60,000 from the contingency account of the probation department to cover unanticipated juvenile detention expenses. This transfer supplements the 2026 budget line for court-ordered non-secure detention, including a $77,112 bill from the House of Good Shepherd, ensuring sufficient funding for required services.
Do I have somebody to move that? Barry, second. Mike? Any discussion?
I'd like to touch on that. So, from my understanding that, if you look in the resolution, it's $17,000 already in the budget line, and that hasn't been used in the past 5 years. So it goes back into the general fund at the end of the year. So, that would be a wash, basically.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried.
Draft resolution number 3, authorization to appropriate $1,266,796 in Dish's state fiscal year 25 Next Generation 911 grant funding for Lewis County. Funds will support upgrades to the county E911 phone system, voice recorders, and related Next 911 technology and equipment. The resolution also directs the treasurer to establish an account for these grant funds within the sheriff's 911 budget.
Someone like to move it? Herb? Second. Mike? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion 3 carried.
Draft resolution number 4, authorization to accept $689,655 in funding under the New York State Dishes ESANET Readiness Grant to enhance Lewis County's emergency communications infrastructure. The funding, covering the period January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2030, will support upgrades to backup 911 generators, redundant fiber lines, microwave links, and other related equipment for the main and backup 911 centers. The resolution also authorizes execution of the grant agreement and appropriates funds within the sheriff's 911 budget.
Herb moves it. Do I have a second? Barry? Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion 4 carried.
Draft resolution number 5, awarding the bid and authorizing a contract with Lawman Heating and Cooling for the removal and replacement of the generator system at the Public Safety Building at a cost not to exceed $271,000. The project will be funded through the Sheriff's 911 fiscal year 23 SICG account.
Would someone like to move that? Vinnie, second. Mike? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carried.
Draft resolution number 6, authorization for the Lewis County Department of Social Services to enter into an agreement with Children's Home of Wyoming Conference for the provision of foster care, emergency respite care, post-placement, residential, educational, and treatment services. The agreement covers the period March 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2027, with costs based on the state maximum aid rate, funded approximately 50% federal, 25% state, and 25% local share when applicable.
Someone like to move that? Vinnie, second. Mike, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion 6 carried. That is the end of draft resolutions. No unfinished business. New business, the Bridges Out of Poverty training has been changed. That is one of the committee goals. It's been changed to April 30th, 9 to 4 p.m. at the JCC building for anyone that wants to attend. We have had Tom Osborne's been through the training, Vinny, Herb. So there's 3 legislators that's been through the training. So any other legislators that would like to attend it, please register. Any other business for the committee? Motion to adjourn. Herb, second. Mike. We are adjourned.